Imagine spending years building a bloodline, carefully selecting your breeders, investing your time, your effort, and your passion, only to discover that one simple decision quietly reduced the consistency of everything you've worked so hard to preserve. The surprising part? This mistake isn't rare. In fact, many breeders make it because they genuinely believe they're doing the right thing. But breeding isn't just about pairing two good-looking birds. It isn't about following the latest trend, and it certainly isn't about chasing famous bloodline names. The most successful breeding programs in the world are built on something far more important. Today, we'll uncover one of the biggest breeding mistakes many people don't even realize they're making, and why understanding this single lesson could completely change the way you think about breeding. Welcome to Chicken Matter Talks, where we explore the history, the legendary bloodlines, the science of genetics, and the fascinating stories behind some of the world's most respected gamefowl families. Our mission is simple: to share educational documentaries that help preserve knowledge, encourage responsible breeding, and inspire enthusiasts to appreciate the history behind these remarkable birds. But before we continue, I'd like to ask for one small favor. If you're passionate about gamefowl history, bloodlines, genetics, and responsible breeding, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to Chicken Matter Talks. Every like, every subscription, and every thoughtful comment tells YouTube that this community wants more educational documentaries like this. Your support helps us continue researching, creating, and preserving valuable knowledge for gamefowl enthusiasts around the world. Together, we're preserving the history, the bloodlines, and the knowledge that future generations of breeders can continue to learn from. Now, let's begin.
Breeding has always been a combination of science, experience, observation, and patience. For generations, dedicated breeders have worked tirelessly to improve the quality and consistency of their flocks. Some families have become respected because of decades of careful selection. Others disappeared because small mistakes slowly weakened the very qualities that once made them exceptional. One of the biggest misconceptions in breeding is believing that success comes from finding the perfect bloodline. But experienced breeders often know something different. A famous bloodline can only reach its potential when it is supported by thoughtful planning, healthy breeding stock, and consistent selection over time. Without those foundations, even the most respected bloodline can gradually lose its identity. The biggest myth in breeding. Let's begin with one of the most common misconceptions. Many people believe that breeding success starts with buying the most famous bloodline available. It sounds logical. If a bloodline has a strong reputation, then surely every bird carrying that name must also be exceptional. But breeding doesn't work that way. A bloodline name represents history. It represents generations of careful work. However, the quality of individual birds can still vary. Health, structure, temperament, and family consistency all matter. Experienced breeders understand that evaluating the individual bird is just as important as understanding the history of its family. In other words, a respected bloodline provides a strong foundation, but responsible selection determines what happens next. Chasing trends instead of building a family. Another mistake is constantly changing direction. Every year, a different bloodline becomes popular. A new cross begins attracting attention. And many beginners immediately abandon their existing breeding plans to follow the latest trend. The problem is, consistency takes time. If a breeder changes bloodlines before properly evaluating previous generations, it becomes difficult to understand what is actually improving and what isn't. Successful breeding programs are rarely built through constant changes. They're built through careful observation, clear goals, and patience over many generations. The most respected breeders don't chase every trend. They build families.
Confusing popularity with quality. Popularity and quality are not always the same. A bloodline may become widely discussed within the community.
Many people may recommend it. Social media may be full of impressive photos and exciting claims. But experienced breeders know that popularity alone doesn't guarantee consistent breeding results. Responsible breeders ask different questions. Are the birds healthy? Do they come from a well-maintained family? Have they shown consistency over multiple generations? Is there reliable breeding documentation? These questions often reveal far more than a famous name ever could. The strongest breeding programs are built on evidence, observation, and long-term planning, not on popularity alone. Ignoring breeding records. Imagine trying to improve a bloodline, but every breeding season, you forget which parents produce the best offspring. Without accurate records, every decision becomes guesswork. This is one of the most overlooked mistakes in breeding. Many beginners rely only on memory. They remember which birds looked impressive, but they forget important details such as family relationships, hatch dates, parent pairings, and the consistency shown across multiple generations. Experienced breeders know that a notebook, or even a simple spreadsheet, can become one of the most valuable tools in a breeding program. Breeding records reveal patterns that are impossible to see through memory alone. They help identify which pairings consistently produce healthy, well-balanced offspring. They also help avoid repeating unsuccessful combinations. Over time, good record-keeping transforms breeding from trial and error into a process guided by observation and evidence. Selecting only by appearance. Another common mistake is choosing breeders based only on appearance. A bird may have beautiful feather color, excellent body size, or striking physical features, but appearance alone does not tell the entire story. Experienced breeders evaluate much more than looks. They observe overall health, body structure, movement, vitality, temperament, and most importantly, the consistency found within the family over several generations. An attractive bird from an inconsistent family may not contribute as much to a long-term breeding program as a healthy, well-balanced bird from a consistently maintained family. Responsible breeding always looks beyond what is immediately visible, because true quality is built through generations, not judged by appearance alone. Expecting immediate results. One of the greatest challenges in breeding is patience. Many people hope to see dramatic improvements after only one breeding season. When those expectations aren't met, they quickly change bloodlines, replace breeders, or completely abandon their original breeding plan. But responsible breeding rarely produces instant success. Building consistency often requires years of careful observation and gradual improvement. Every generation teaches valuable lessons. Some generations confirm that a breeding direction is working. Others reveal areas that need adjustment. Experienced breeders understand that progress is measured over time, not after a single hatch. Patience is not simply a virtue in breeding. It is one of the foundations of long-term success. Responsible breeders think differently. So, what separates experienced breeders from beginners? It isn't access to secret bloodlines. It isn't luck. And it certainly isn't following every new trend. Successful breeders usually share several habits. They establish clear breeding goals. They observe carefully before making changes. They maintain accurate records. They value consistency over popularity. And they understand that preserving a respected family requires discipline as much as knowledge. Instead of asking, "What's the fastest way to improve my bloodline?" they ask, "What decisions today will strengthen this family over the next several generations?" That single shift in thinking changes everything. Because great breeding programs aren't built by shortcuts. They're built one thoughtful decision at a time. There is no magic bloodline. For generations, breeders have searched for the perfect bloodline, a family that would outperform every other, a cross that would guarantee success. But the truth is, no bloodline is magical. Every respected bloodline earned its reputation through years, sometimes decades, of careful selection and responsible breeding. Names like Hatch, Kelso, Sweater, Roundhead,
Gray, and many others are respected because dedicated breeders invested countless hours preserving consistency over multiple generations. The name itself is only part of the story. What truly matters is how well that family has been maintained. A carefully preserved family often provides far more value than simply chasing a famous name without understanding its background. This is why experienced breeders study bloodline history just as much as the birds themselves. History teaches us why certain families became respected in the first place.
The best breeders never stop learning. One characteristic appears again and again among successful breeders. They remain students. No matter how many years of experience they have, they continue observing, they continue recording, they continue asking questions, and they continue learning from every generation they produce, because breeding is constantly teaching new lessons. Even experienced breeders occasionally encounter unexpected results. Instead of becoming discouraged, they study those results, they improve their breeding plans, and they continue moving forward with greater knowledge. This mindset separates long-term breeders from those who simply follow trends. Knowledge grows, bloodlines improve, experience deepens, but only when learning never stops. What actually builds a great bloodline? After everything we've discussed, we return to one important question. If famous names alone don't guarantee success, then what actually builds a respected bloodline? The answer is surprisingly simple. Consistency, patience, careful observation, responsible selection, healthy breeding stock, accurate record keeping, and a clear long-term vision. These principles have guided respected breeding programs for generations. Not shortcuts, not hype, not constantly changing direction. The greatest breeding programs are built slowly, one thoughtful decision at a time. And perhaps that's the most valuable lesson every breeder can learn. Did you know many of today's most respected bloodline families were not recognized immediately? Some took decades before breeders began appreciating their consistency and long-term value. Their reputation wasn't created by advertising. It was built through years of careful observation, responsible breeding, and the trust earned within the breeding community. That's an important reminder. The strongest breeding programs aren't measured by how quickly they become popular. They're measured by how consistently they stand the test of time. After everything we've explored today, one lesson stands above all the rest. The biggest breeding mistake isn't choosing the wrong famous bloodline. It isn't missing the newest trend. And it isn't failing to own the most expensive birds. The biggest mistake is believing that great bloodlines are built through shortcuts. In reality, every respected family began with a breeder who was willing to observe carefully, learn continuously, keep accurate records, and remain patient through generation after generation. Breeding is not a race. It's a long-term commitment. Each generation teaches something new. Every breeding decision shapes the future of the family you're trying to preserve. The broods you select today, the records you keep, and the standards you refuse to compromise may influence your breeding program for years to come. That's why responsible breeding has never been about chasing perfection. It's about making thoughtful decisions, learning from every generation, and improving little by little over time. Because in the end, great bloodlines aren't created by luck. They're created by dedicated breeders who never stop learning. If you found today's documentary helpful, please support Chicken Matter Talks by giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Every like, every subscribe, and every respectful comment helps YouTube recommend these educational documentaries to more gamefowl enthusiasts around the world. And if you have your own thoughts or experiences about responsible breeding, we'd love to hear from you. Share them in the comments below, and let's continue building a community that values knowledge, history, and responsible breeding. Thank you for watching another documentary from Chicken Matter Talks. Our mission is to preserve the history, explore the bloodlines, understand the genetics, and share the stories behind some of the world's most respected gamefowl families. Remember, knowledge grows when it's shared, history survives when it's remembered, and every great bloodline begins with a breeder who chooses patience over shortcuts. Until next time, keep learning, keep observing, and
and keep preserving the legacy of great bloodlines. We'll see you in the next documentary.